Hello, friends. What is up? Happy Saturday. I know it's weird. I'm actually not filming on Friday for once. And truly my intent with this podcast is I had such like a structure in my head where it was like, I want to film it on Tuesdays and then edit it on Thursdays and then post on Thursdays. And somehow in the last handful of weeks, that structure that I had like so nice and organized for myself has turned into chaos like everything else in my life. And I have just been filming, editing, and posting on Fridays because I would want to get the episode out before the end of the week, and I would put it off until the last minute because I put the pro in procrastinate. This week has been a little crazy for me, honestly. The last handful of weeks have been really crazy for me, and I've been going through a lot of personal growth and self-development in my business, and I've really been pushing myself. I've been pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I really haven't had a ton of client work lately, and I'm trying to just do a deeper dive into like my marketing and what I can be doing better in order to try to start attracting more clients and booking more jobs and, getting work kind of turning at a more steady rate. And it's tough, honestly. Starting your business from scratch, nobody tells you about the systems that you have to put in place, your lead inquiry forms and tracking leads and following up with leads and trying to turn jobs from cold leads and hot leads and warm leads into an actual paying job and blah, 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 and on and on and on it goes. And it's stressful. And there's really not a roadmap. There's not a one size fits all approach for this. And I have really been struggling lately. Because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like every friggin' time I go on social media, it's thousands upon thousands of other designers saying, buy this template, try this guide, I have a format, I have a roadmap. Instead of chasing clients, attract your clients. And in order to stop chasing clients and attract clients, take my course and enroll in my program and all of this nonsense. And it's just noise anymore. And while I do see the value in certain designers, not all of them are. Not all of them are out there looking out for your best interest. And it's hard because the more and more and more of them that are out there, and the heavier and heavier and heavier this push becomes on social media, the more and more and more it makes you feel like you're failing. And honestly, massive shout out to Brands by Robin. She just dropped an episode on her Brand Your Brain podcast. And to anyone listening, I cannot recommend enough. Go listen to her most recent episode. It's called Why Designers Feel Stuck No Matter How Much They Learn. And it talks about exactly this. And it is so well said. Please go listen to it. She does such an amazing job talking about this exact thing. And honestly, it's something I have been struggling with recently before she even released this episode. And it came through a creative confession where another designer was also experiencing this. And I know that I'm not the only one. The designer that made that creative confession is not the only one, and she also agrees. She feels the same. So let me just pedal it back a little bit, catch you guys up on some of the stuff that I've been going through, and just walk you through my brain for this episode, because that's why we're here. The real, raw, uncut designer journey. So welcome back to The Designated Designer, guys, a podcast by designers for designers and clients alike. In today's episode, we are going to be unpacking quite a lot of things, from rejection that I've recently experienced to remembering who we're creating for. I got a lot of good stuff packed in today's episode. So grab your favorite snack, drink, kick back, relax, get comfy. We got a lot to talk about today. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you guys today about is rejection and dealing with it as a designer, because I feel like a lot of just business owners in general put a lot of emphasis on embracing rejection. And I feel like that is so important. And it is a lot easier said than done. So recently, I've been trying to push myself out of my comfort zone and doing some crazy things that normally I would never even have a thought to do. One of them being was that I actually applied to be a guest on a super prominent podcast, a design podcast. And honestly, I was stoked. I've been following these people for a really long time. I had a lot of admiration and respect for these people. I really aligned with them, and I felt like they were trying to make a good, positive change in the industry. And I felt very passionate about them. With bright eyes and a bushy tail, I applied to be a guest speaker on this podcast. And honestly, I was so excited. I feel like I have so much that I want to talk about. I feel like I have so much passion that I can offer the industry. And I've been doing a lot of networking events recently in my community, locally, where I joined the chamber of my community. And, it's like a small business support system. And I just start talking to business owners, people that do cruises and plumbers and HVAC people and asphalt people and all of these different kinds of industries. And I get to talk about being a brand strategist because the thing is, online, when you surround yourself with other brand strategists, you all have something in common. But when you push yourself out of your comfort zone and you start talking to all of these different business owners, they don't really understand what you do. And it gives you a unique opportunity to have to explain what you do to somebody that doesn't understand it. Super easy to walk up to another brand strategist and explain what you do, and they understand exactly what you're talking about. Very difficult to walk up to somebody that cuts grass for a living and explain what you do. And it's good. It's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's good to have a conversation with somebody that doesn't understand what you do because it makes you better at it. So it was really exciting to be able to meet these business owners. And the eye-opening part of it for me was that every single one of them made a point to mention how refreshing it was for them to hear me talk about my business and how they can get a sense for my passion, dedication, and just overall sense of how I run my business. It was cool. It was really cool to hear that response as the general consensus, that was really unique. And through doing that, it gave me the confidence that I needed to be able to apply to be a guest on this podcast. And I was just so stoked about it. I was in this headspace where I was everything happens for a reason. And I would have never had the confidence to apply to be on this podcast if I didn't get out there in my community and start talking about my business. And they all agreed that I have a unique perspective and I'm very passionate. And I wanted to share that with the world. I have a very small podcast. They have a very large, successful podcast. And I thought it would be really incredible for me to be able to share my unique perspective in a larger space. Needless to say, I was stoked. I was like a fangirl. This is a group of people that I really respect and admire. Well, honestly, at this point, respected and admired, past tense. So at the point that I applied to be on this podcast, I was just totally floored and so excited. I was so excited to be on this podcast. I mean, for anybody that's listening to this episode that follows me on social media, I did make a post about this. I posted it on my story and I was like, wish me luck, guys. I was so excited. And then I got the response. A polite rejection. A nice, clean, we appreciate your submission, but at this time, we're prioritizing our students and we don't feel that the topic you mentioned aligns with our goals. Honestly, that crushed me, but in the best way possible. I don't really know how to explain the emotion that I felt because in that rejection, and honestly, it is important to put yourself in a position where you have a high potential for rejection, because in that moment and only in that moment are you going to grow in a very specific way. So the rejection came in and I was flooded with emotions. I was flooded immediately with the classic, I'm not good enough. And that's a normal reaction, even though that's not the truth. Immediately you're faced with this wave of it's because I'm not good enough or I'm not popular enough or I don't have enough views or I don't have enough to offer, and none of it's true. You are unique and you are special. You see the world in a way that only you can see the world, and that is so, so valuable to everyone around you. Don't let anyone ever take that away from you. But then the other emotions that I began to feel were things like, if you really are claiming to support the up-and-coming designer, to support the budding designer, to want to give them a platform to grow on, to want to help them grow and thrive, but only if they pay for it, well, then you're not practicing what you preach. So it was like this sad, angry, tense, all of these emotions that I had to process at once. And it wasn't because my insights weren't valuable. It's certainly not because I wasn't experienced enough. It's not because I didn't have anything to contribute. But then it came down to, I wasn't a part of their paid program. And listen, I'm not new to rejection. I've heard no plenty of times, and it's important to get comfortable with that. But this one, man, it just hit different when they told me we prioritize our students. Because it made me realize something about this industry that I think that we all feel, but we're not talking enough about. This space, this community that's supposed to be helping each other grow, it's not always what it seems. And sometimes it's just a glorified popularity contest. And I hate that. I was never the popular girl. I was always the one that was picked on. In fact, the only 2 childhood best friends that I ever had since kindergarten ended up bullying me over a boy, and I was left by myself with no friends from 6th grade to 8th grade. And they bullied me so hard that I would leave school crying every single day of my life. Okay, so I know what it's like to be the bullied girl. I know what it's like to not be the popular girl. And to see that this like popularity thing is still prevalent in our industry just makes my blood boil. And people are getting away with it. And I'm not okay with it. So I am here to be the voice for the one that is bullied, for the one that doesn't have anybody to sit with at lunch. If you are alone and you don't have anybody to play with at recess and you don't have anybody to sit with at lunch, I am here for you. And before anyone gets this twisted, I do not have a problem whatsoever with people selling courses. I love education. I believe in mentorship. I understand that they have spent years in this industry and it's really expensive to have the knowledge that they have, and you should be compensated fairly for that. I'm not saying that everything should be given away for free whatsoever. I understand very clearly the value in it, and I respect that. I respect their right to prioritize their students. The problem that I had with all of this is if you're saying that you're here for the up-and-coming designer, you're here to support the new designers, you're here to support the baby designers. The baby designers don't have a huge budget. They don't have thousands of dollars to become a student of your program. So you're not really practicing what you preach. And that is the part that I'm not okay with. And you know what? I'm going to call it out for what it is. Because honestly, I know that I'm not the only one feeling this way. And some of the other people that are feeling this way don't really have a platform to speak their mind, but I do, and I will be here to be your voice. The thing is, the second that we start closing doors on people that have real value to offer, just because they didn't pay to sit at your table, we have a problem in our industry. Because the real community doesn't have a paywall. And at first, yeah, all of this did sting. I'm not going to say that it didn't. It's easy to feel like a nobody, like a worthless nothing when a door slams in your face like that. But I took the second to breathe and process it. And then I realized, why am I waiting for somebody else to hand me a mic when I already have my own? And that brings us here today. The topic that I wanted to bring to that podcast, the one that apparently wasn't a priority for them or they didn't align with, was this. We're not designing for an algorithm. We are designing for ourselves and for those around us, which are our clients. Social media has done some really weird shit to the way that we create, especially recently. And somewhere along the way, we stopped making work for the sake of making art for meaning, for real impact. And instead, we started making things that would perform well and get a lot of views. I felt that this topic was really important to talk about because I feel like it's really started to boil over in the last few weeks, if not months. And I really felt like this was an important thing to discuss in our industry because I know if I'm feeling that way, I'm not the only one feeling that way. And to get the immediate, yeah, this topic just really doesn't align with what we do, really made me feel like, am I calling you out for what you're doing? You know? And then it got me thinking, well, now I have to talk about it. So like I said in the beginning, if you didn't already listen to it, go listen to that episode of Brand Your Brain because Robin explains it so freaking well. I love that girl. But I will give you my perspective on this topic. So listen, social media is really important. We're all trying to grow. We're all trying to be seen. But if we're not careful, we start creating just to feed the machine. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't sign up for a career to be a content factory. I want to make art. I want to make the world a prettier place, and I want to help my clients' businesses thrive and succeed while I do so. So how do we break out of this cycle? How do we start designing for us again, for our businesses, for our clients, and for the craft? Here's what I've been starting to focus on. Remember who you're designing for. Before you post, before you make something just to perform well, ask yourself, who is this for? And if the only answer is for the algorithm or for as many views as I can get, pause and rethink it. Stop feeding the content beast. Not every single design has to be turned into a flashy reel. Not every project has to be a case study. You're not here to entertain a robot. You're here to create meaningful art. Engagement does not equal impact. Some of the best work that you're ever going to create isn't going to perform well on Instagram. But that doesn't mean that it's not valuable. That doesn't mean that it's not going to land you real paying clients. Your worth isn't measured in likes. Social media is a portfolio, not the client. The second that we start treating it like the end goal instead of the tool to get the clients that we're after, we lose the real magic of what it is that we do as artists and creators. Lastly, take a break. Seriously, log off, go outside, go touch some grass, whatever it is that you have to do to remind yourself that your creativity is far bigger than a screen or a like button. Now, let's wrap all this goodness up. At the end of the day, rejection is just redirection. Not getting a seat at somebody else's table, that's just a sign to build your own. And when it comes to creating, make the work that you want to be known for. Make the work that makes you feel good. Make the work that serves your clients best. Not for a stupid algorithm that's going to forget about you in 24 hours or can be deleted from existence in a day. That's the mission. That's the reminder. And if this episode hit home for you, let's keep the conversation going. Shoot me a DM, tag me in your work. I want to see what you're making, not what the algorithm is pressuring you to make. And with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay real, stay creative, and don't let the algorithm design your work for you.